A leader must believe in the cause he is fighting for, or else his team will not. If they still do not, the leader must convince the team of why they are doing something and help them believe in it wholeheartedly. They cannot doubt or question when they are about to kill someone, in the case of military or police, for example, unless they believe in the cause and why they must. This must be handled ahead of time, not at the moment. In so doing, explaining to a junior leader will also reinforce to himself why. When a leader himself receives an order from higher up the chain of command and he doesn't believe in the cause and asks why, then he himself must deconstruct it, analyze it, try to see the whole picture, and even ask his superiors why to get a clear picture so he can fully believe in the cause. I'll tell you right now, that's why I get out of the military. Because I'd get orders. Go fire rounds in that direction. Why? Because I said so, damn it. That's not a good answer. And if you know anything about parenting, they technically say don't ever say to your kids, because I said so.
I say it like 100 times
I know,
a day.
me too. But you're not supposed to. And when your military says, when a leader, superior says, fire at that random group of civilians, morally you start saying, should I? And you start doubting it. And then you don't necessarily follow through. So the idea is, especially in overseas and hot zones, you're supposed to have a full understanding of why you're there, and why orders are coming down, who people are. It has to be very clear. Because if it goes against your moral compass, you won't do it. You just won't do it. And then in the military, the Canadian military, at least, they used to be able to kill you for disobedience, but now I don't think they can do that anymore. But when I was in, they could. It was still a thing. And they had capital punishment, even though capital punishment was outlawed in Canada since...
Military law is different.
Military law is totally different, and they could. Until, I think it was just 2005, they outlawed it. Capital punishment in the military, yep.
There's not really any rules with military law, like they can...
They're pretty wide open, yep. So, okay. So just remember that. When you're trying to convince an order to your subordinates, you can't just say, do it because I said so. You have to explain why so they feel better about it. If it's not an ethical situation, maybe it doesn't matter. If you're building a house and you say, put all those planks over there, you don't have to go into an ethical debate. It's not necessary. But if someone's expected to do something that is morally questionable, you have to make them believe in their cause.
Or you point a gun at their head. Do it. Do it or die.
Do or die, yeah.
That's what they did in the Soviets, right?
Yeah.
When their own people were backtracking, they were killing them.
However, when the Navy SEALs go in, and when I was reading this book, I've read a lot of books for this, but this one in particular, when they went in and they killed Osama bin Laden, they were killing the women and the children, and they couldn't say, whoa, wait, should I be doing this? Because then they'd be killed, right? They needed to have a very clear understanding of what they were getting into ahead of time. They had to understand why they were doing it, who these people were. Women or children can be bombs. Kids have been known to pick up weapons and shoot. And it was Osama bin Laden's house. So like just kill. Everyone had a very clear picture that he was a bad guy. Everybody in there was a bad guy. And there'd be like a pregnant lady, oh, don't shoot. And they'd look away, and inside of her gut would be guns. And they'd kill them. So you have to kill. You have to be ruthless. You have to, basically, morally and ethically, everyone has to understand. That's the bottom line. There is no time for second guessing when the moment comes. So, where did I leave off? Leadership is a string of leaders, both up and down the chain of command. If one person alone leads a group of people, that leader will not be able to do it. And we'll get into that in a second, what that means. In combat or missions, the enemy gets a vote. You must keep combat or plans as simple as possible because the enemy gets a vote in what happens. And because there are far too many variables involved, nothing ever goes according to plan. What does that mean? If you don't keep things simple, it will become extraordinarily difficult to adjust to new information or new scenarios on the fly. Your plans have to be extremely simple. And the enemy gets a vote. So if the idea is to enter a house, raid a house, and kill people, the enemy, when they say the enemy gets a vote, which means they're going to be allowed to pick up a weapon and fire back. That's their vote. So they're not going to be compliant. They're going to have a say. So when you plan, this is how we're going to do things. Go here and do this and that. The enemy's going to have their own agenda, and they're going to mess up your plan. As much as, maybe not consciously, but they're going to. I mean, they're going to fight, and it's going to change things. We know that, was that?
You're supposed to have like backup plans.
Yep.
If this scenario, like red lines.
Yep. Contingency plans, exactly. And we're getting there, but you're right. So first of all, maybe I'll ask a question. A leader can only keep track of and control how many people, do you think? How many people they say is, don't look, let's say, could be military, but not necessarily. Let's say ninjas then, in our situation.
All right. I'll go 20.
20, you think?
Like to do what?
Let's say to lead them into battle in some way. How many guys can you, but this applies for business, it applies for volunteer groups, it applies to anything. How many people can one person actively control?
I'm taking 5.
And like 50.
50? You said 20, but maybe you want to change it.
Well, it's just I'm trying to think of a situation. I mean, I think of my position at work, and it's like, you know,
Oh, yeah, okay.
you get leadership at work, but it's just,
Yeah.
you know, you have.
It's the same though. It's still the same.
But where you're going with it, it's a little different.
Under stress, severe stress, don't look at it that way. So there is stress of dying if you don't do it right, but then there's still business stress, and there's stress of your superiors coming down on you if you don't get something done. So,
But you're talking to effectively manage individuals in potentially stressful situations.
yeah. How many do you think is a good number? And then I'll tell you.
Squads are the perfect example, in my opinion.
Which one?
Riot squads.
Riot squads?
Like, watch the event, Australian police, you got a line of like 30 people, police officers, and they got the one directing, and
So here's the official answer.
10.
Okay. Anybody? I'll give a one Bujin buck to anybody who's in the right. In the right. Everyone make their vote. How many do you say?
I was saying 5.
And there's 2 possible answers. I have one if you're not under extreme stress, and one if you are. But they're close. They're still close. Just give me one. I'll give it to you in either case. So what do you say?
5.
5? And you said 10?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you say?
I even up it to maybe like, well, 50 or
50?
100.
What do you say?
15.
15. Okay. A leader can only keep track of and control 6 to 10 people. 4 to 5 under stress.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what it
Who
was.
won?
I was pretty darn close.
You said 10, didn't you?
I said 5, so
I said 10.
4 to
6 to
5.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, and I'll give it to you, and not to either of you. So there, you each get one Bujin buck.
Because in combat, I've never been in combat, but the leader in combat, they have to make sure, they have to keep track of all the men.
Yep.
Make sure they have ammo, make sure that they're following what they're supposed to do, so.
And it's so easy to screw up.
Exactly.
One tiny thing that you overlook and people die.
Exactly.
Yeah. The stress is unbelievable. Yeah. And not just that, but you're killing enemies, but what if you kill you're always saying, what if I kill an innocent? Then you're thinking, am I morally damned for eternity? You're literally thinking that. If I do something horribly wrong on his advice, does it screw my soul? You're always thinking about that.
This is not the Bible's, that's such a big theological debate. Because it says not to murder at all. Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, if you have more than that, that's 6 to 10 normally, or 4 to 5 under stress, you select 4 to 6 junior leaders under you that report directly to you. So that's another 4 to 6. So, in this case, if you have a large group, say you were assigned 1,000 men, you would delegate 4 to 6 of your best that you report to directly.
Generals.
Then each of them sort it down into 4 to 6, 6 to 10. The same idea, 4 or 5. Then they each break down. So there's cells.
Full instructions too.
Total, it seems maybe at first to be chaotic, but everybody reports to a very specific person and they know it.
And that
And-
one person reports to a more senior person that's getting.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
So in a battle scenario, you only have to tell 4 people, or 5, or 6, and it just goes and filters down. So you don't have to tell 1,000 men. You don't have to get on a megahorn and talk to a crowd, right? So
What did he say?
that's the idea. Now that is the problem, isn't it? What you just said. What happens? Because everyone says, I think it says here, the telephone game. I don't see it. I don't see it here, but it is here. So what happens? That's why we said your instructions must be extremely simple and clear. Not complicated, because the telephone game will ruin it. It has to be very precise, simple, and clear. What's the word I'm looking for?
Details, no details.
No details. You can't color it with your personality. Say 3 men, northwest, 2.5 kilometers, kill everybody there. Or
Just
seize
like, go kill.
the assets. Very detailed, specific. 2.5. You don't say about 2 kilometers. You don't say send a few guys. You got to say exactly how many, exactly which direction, exactly how far. If there's times involved, you have to give exact timings. Very, very simple and direct.
You're just gonna go there and you're gonna defend that area.
Yeah. Await further instructions. Yeah. And then maybe after they get there, then you send them more. Yeah. So, let's see. If you have more than, we said that already, then you move. Then they might need to do the same thing, so you have a cascading effect. Yeah. You might group them by skills, such as all snipers, or by some other criteria. So if I was in charge of 1,000 men, I might, and let's say my specialty was a sniper, I might pick my 5 generals who are snipers, just because I understand them and I can relate. But not necessarily. It doesn't have to be that way, but if you're picking people, you might pick them ones who you can understand what they're telling you better, or something. Like if you speak English, you might not pick 5 guys that can speak 5 different languages other than English. Just makes sense.
If I was to pick, it'd be people that can communicate effectively.
Yeah. And you understand what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. You might not pick a mechanic if you're a computer guy, because you might pick a computer guy who has the same lingo, who might come across the same way, talk the same way you talk. Maybe. You don't have to, but it's an idea. It's a good idea. So, okay. Doesn't matter too much.
It's really purpose-driven too. Like if I had a whole unit of people and then I had to create divisions of,
Yep.
if I did need a mechanic, well, I'd obviously pick a mechanic that knew there was a mechanic that I could communicate well with,
Yeah.
and then I could get him to control.
Probably. It makes sense, right?
You know?
Yeah.
You kinda always have to have a mechanic or somebody that's good at stuff,
Yeah.
mechanical stuff.
And imagine that. The military has an entire mechanical division.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, you're right.
They've got it broken down into skills for some reason. Okay. However, the opposite could be true. If you are a fire team, which is what they're called, by the way, say 5 guys, and you're going to be isolated and you're going to be sent away, you might want to pick one of every trade. You want to have a mechanic, you want to have a medic, you want to have a marksman, you want to have a communications expert, and you might want to have a demolition.
And a chef, a good chef.
Chefs are important. They are. Or an intel guy, or who knows, right? So,
The Roman legions had chefs.
yeah,
They were trained chefs too. They know how to fight too. It's crazy.
yeah.
You do the research.
Well, chefs in Canada, they're in the U.S. or in the Canadian military, they have to fight too. Everyone goes through the same basic training. You fire weapons.
Doesn't matter what you do.
Doesn't matter. Yep, everybody has to. Yep. So, and it's exactly that. Should the need arise, the cook can pick up and fight. That's the idea.
And the medic, that's their first job, is to fight.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Okay. How are we doing? Ooh, we're getting there. The last time I did this, everybody was silent. I just spoke. I'm like, this is boring. But now people are talking. I like it. Makes me feel like my 6 months of research was worth it. But I like spontaneous conversation too.
Feedback.
Feedback, oh, feedback. Okay. Do what makes sense to you. Your junior leaders must, in the absence of orders, so now we're talking about if they're in a position where they don't get the orders, but they are pressed into service somehow, like enemies approaching on their position, and the radio's broken. I don't know. Let's see. In the absence of orders, they say to his upper command chain, "This is what I am going to do, not what do I do." And in the Canadian military, we used to call that initiative. If you don't know what to do, you have to decide for yourself instead of asking. Just do it. Just do it. Like Nike. Just do it. They must know their left and right limits of decision making, though. So that means ahead of time they should know your area of authorization is no farther than this on either side. So that you can't order an airstrike if you are a private and you've no authority and you're like your third day on the job, you know, stuff like that. But maybe, I don't know.
You were like the last guy, and you pick up the radio from the dead guy over there.
Maybe, yeah. But now, having said that, whatever they decide to do in these cases, it should reflect the goals of the next higher up. This is called a decentralized command. That's important. So that means, decentralized command, you have to anticipate what your superior would tell you to do and do it. You don't get to just like, all right, men, let's change your color of our uniforms and we're going to change our nationality. You don't get to make those decisions.
This is the Rainbow Buja.
So the idea, yes, you have to try to anticipate the general goal of the whole war. We know we're here because we're supposed to basically attack them and take over land or whatever. So kind of follow, stick to that, but you get to make your own call, sort of, until you get, and then once communication is reestablished, you tell them what you are doing or what you did. You don't ask, what do I do? You never ever ask, what do I do? So I guess that means if I were out sick and I didn't show up for a class, someone has to step up and say, all right, this is what we're doing. You don't say, someone get Jason on the line and figure out what we should do. You just do it. Just do it. Yeah. That's the bottom line. And same in the field. So the 6-man team is called a fire team. It wasn't back then, but it is now, obviously. Fire Team Charlie. How do you prevent the info from degrading, like the telephone game? Proper decentralized command requires simple, clear, concise orders that can be understood easily by everyone in the chain of command. And that also applies to radios. When they talk over the radio, it's very clear. No flavoring it with your personality.
And it's standardized, so everybody
Yep.
understands the same language.
Yep. And when we do communication, we're going to go over that too. Yep.
It is coming, the day which I have spoken. 4 great beasts will rise from the earth. I am the king of the north, and I will rule the earth.
I am king of East. No other country has power like me.
I am the king of the south, my people, and I will reign over all mankind.
When my name is revealed in the west, the entire world will follow me.